models. We have neon and we have nitrogen. So what I want you guys to do is somebody over on this side, you guys should be able to draw neons. And somebody over here, nitrogen. So somebody draw neon and somebody draw nitrogen for the Bohr models. Who thinks they can draw neon? Who thinks they can draw nitrogen? You guys should be able to in the bottom left corner. Can you guys draw? You guys see a pencil in the bottom left of your iPads? On Zoom, hopefully.
Yep.
Awesome. Somebody draw neon, somebody draw nitrogen. Or at least tell me how many protons, neutrons, and electrons. Draw it on the board, on the whiteboard. Somebody's doing neon. Who can do nitrogen? There we go. Crushing it. All right, so now we have that. Let's draw those Bohr models. Who can draw the Bohr models? We're doing great. Keep going on nitrogen. Who's got neon's Bohr model? We know we have 7 protons. Oh, 10 protons, 10 neutrons. Nice. Neon. Who's got neon's Bohr model? Awesome. Perfect. See, someone started it. We have our nucleus. Perfect. 10 protons. Ten neutrons. Wonderful. And then Perfect. All right, so now we have neon and we have nitrogen. We've come up with the Bohr models for both. We've crushed it. Neon has 10 protons and 10 neutrons in the nucleus. It has 10 electrons total, 2 in the first orbital, and then that first orbital is full. And then we have 8 in the second orbital, and then it also becomes full. So we have a total of 10 electrons on neon. Now, nitrogen's Bohr model, it has 7 protons and 7 neutrons in its nucleus. It has those 2 electrons on the first orbital, just like neon, and then it has 5 electrons on the second orbital to add up to a total of 7 total electrons. That's also perfect. Now, if I were to tell you I wanted the Lewis dot structure, what's the first thing? Can anybody tell me the first thing in the Lewis dot structure? What do we draw first? There's only 2 parts to our Lewis dot structures. What's one of those 2 parts? Who can tell me?
The element symbol.
The element symbol. So what's the element symbol for neon?
N.
Not quite, not just N, because actually that one's going to be nitrogen's, is going to be N over here. Neon is going to be Ne. If we're looking at our periodic table, neon has the, neon has the element symbol Ne, nitrogen's is N. So now the second thing on our Lewis dot structure is what? Remember what those things are called? Does anybody remember what else goes on the Lewis dot structures besides the element symbol?
The valence electrons.
Perfect. Those valence electrons. And those valence electrons are the electrons on the outermost orbital. So neon, how many valence electrons does it have?
8.
8.
It has 8. Perfect. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 valence electrons. 8 electrons on its outermost orbital. So we're going to put these 8 electrons on neon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So neon gets 8 valence electrons. And then if we do the same thing to nitrogen, can anybody tell me how many valence electrons nitrogen has?
5.
5.
Perfect. 5 valence electrons. And if we don't know where they came from, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We crushed it, so we'll put 5 valence electrons around nitrogen. And then we're done. So you guys are crushing valence electrons, you're crushing Bohr models, we're crushing Lewis dot structures. What I want us to do now is we are going to go to Canvas. And when we get to Canvas, you're going to open up today's assignment, and it's called Periodic Table Introduction. And when we do this, we should open it up and it looks something like this. There are 2 review problems, which means that you should know how to do these, or if you don't, ask questions. But it's creating 2 Bohr models, one for fluorine, one for argon. Then you're going to do the Lewis dot structures for both of them. Then we're going to get down here. We're going to answer a few questions. So how are the Bohr model and the periodic table related? And then we're going to answer the questions below that periodic table as well. So when it says the atomic number tells us, there's 3 things you should be able to identify from the atomic number. Figure out what those 3 things are. The period tells us something. When I say the period, I'm just talking about the row. So this is the first period, second period, third period, all the way down to 7. So if I put in parentheses here, the row, just so I can remember that period is just talking about the rows of the periodic table. Then keep going. There's a few more questions. The only one I wanted to talk about before I let you guys just go off and work on the rest of this on your own is this one, the group. You should be able to identify something about the group, which is really just the columns. So those are the columns that go up and down. You should be able to identify one thing about the group right now. That second thing we haven't covered yet. So that's just like a lead into something else we'll get to probably on Thursday or Friday. But if you figure out what that second thing is, or if you have a guess as to what that second thing is, go right ahead and throw it down. It's okay if it's wrong, but that at least one of the two things you should be able to figure out at least by the end of this worksheet. So go ahead and work on this worksheet, remembering that the periods are going across the row, the groups go down the columns. And then I'll be here on Zoom if you have any questions. Otherwise, you guys are good to go. That's all I really have for you today. But remember that tomorrow is just a work day to catch up on any missing assignments. We have no Zoom meeting because the teachers all have meetings tomorrow that without the students. So we have to go to other meetings. So there'll be no Zoom tomorrow, and there's not going to be like an open Zoom meeting either, just to make sure you guys know that.